Good morning. Good morning. I could see you. I knew you were here. So glad you are. What a delight to spend some time together today. We're in a series about rewriting the story of our life. And the truth is that all of us would write things into our life that we assume would make our life better. And the challenge is that often other people write their own parts into our story, and that can be a plus or a minus. But the truth is that even when we try to write the story of our life, as well-intended as we are, and as much as there are good things that we want, we tend to keep writing the same things over and over again because we see things the same way, and we tend to react or respond the same way that we have in the past. I'm told 86% of Americans want to write a book. 1% actually do. Here's an idea. If you want to write a book, you could write a book about a person who was born into a very wealthy family. Both parents were remarkably good-looking and physically capable. This individual grew up and excelled at everything that they ever attempted. They were the best in their class. They also married someone who was the love of their life. The marriage was completely faithful all of their days. They had 2 children, even brighter and more beautiful than they were. And they died in each other's arms on the same day at the same time. How many would read that book? So why are we trying to live a life that if it was a book, we wouldn't read it? There's a set of assumptions that we have about what will make our story worth living. And Paul is about to dash those assumptions. Paul is the apostle, and he's writing to a letter to believers in Philippi. It's a challenging environment in which they're living, and there's a lot of things, both politically and economically, that are playing into some of the conversations they're having and the things that they're struggling with. And I want to tell you that when I read this passage, it's very easy to miss how potent and powerful this passage is, because especially if we've been raised in church, our minds just kind of gloss over when we hear certain words. Let's see if we can get beneath the veneer today and see what he's actually trying to say to us. He says, I pray that your love will overflow more and more, and that you will keep on growing in knowledge and understanding. For I want you to understand what really matters. I want you to understand what really matters so that you too may live pure and blameless lives until the day of Christ's return. May you always be filled with the fruit of your salvation, the righteous character produced in your life by Jesus Christ. For this will bring much glory and praise to God. I think most people buy into an idea that if I want my life to be the best life possible, then there's certain things I have to have in place. And we work for those things. If I have a new job, that's going to be a game changer. If I have more money, that's going to be a problem solver. If I have a better image, that's going to be a brand upgrade. People will see me differently. But the challenge is that we can spend our lives working for those things and, honestly, acquiring some of those things, and it doesn't seem to do what we wanted it to do. There's kind of a false formula that Paul wants to dismantle for us, and the formula is this: resources plus power equal transformation. If I have the resources I want and I have the power I crave, then I will be the person I want to be. If I have enough stuff, if I have enough agency, so not just control my own actions, but the actions of others, if I have that, then my life will be a lot better. If that's true, then the question I think is worth asking is, so when we look at people who have a lot of resources and a lot of power, do they reflect the very best version of humanity? Are they always kind? Are they always loving? Are they always wise? Are they always generous? And obviously, that's not the case. So Paul wants to give us a different kind of framework, and the framework he wants to give us is this. And I know just please, if you can avoid the eye roll, maybe just close your eyes. Because I know what this sounds like. I know what it's going to sound like when I say it. Love plus knowledge plus discernment equals formation. Love plus knowledge plus discernment equals formation. I pray that your love will overflow more and more, that you will keep growing in knowledge and in understanding. Instead of praying for control of resources and power, Paul prays a very different kind of prayer. And he starts with love. And this is a really interesting thing, because I think for lots of people, love is really nothing other than infatuation and attraction. I was talking to a person after first service, and they come from a different country. And in their country, there is no, you don't go from we're friends to I like you to love. The country they come from is just love. And so he came to our country, and the first young lady that he saw that he was interested in being friends with, he said, I love you. That did not work. For us, we think differently. Our culture kind of programs us about this. If you've ever listened to the wedding vows in a wedding ceremony, there are 78 words included in the vows. I know because I count them, because I have a counting sickness. And so there's 78 words in the vows. And what's absolutely fascinating about those 78 words is there's not one word about emotion. We think love is an attraction, an infatuation, and a feeling. And then when people aren't attracted, or they don't have the same feelings, they think they don't love a person anymore. And that's not what love is. At least not biblical love. Biblical love is this. Biblical love is a commitment for the best of another person, no matter what. Biblical love is a commitment to the best for another person, no matter what, even if it costs me something. I want what's best for the other person. That's not infatuation. It's not sentiment. In fact, oftentimes the emotions that go along with a commitment like that are not the best emotions. Like, it's difficult to stay there. But that kind of love is quite remarkable. And then he says this. He tells us that I want you to not only grow in your ability to love, and that it would be overflowing, but in knowledge. So I think for us, a lot of times knowledge is just facts, data, information. A guy in our church just sent a meme to his wife the other day, and he told me that he sent it, and it cracked me up, and it was this. It was, remember when we used to think that stupidity was the result of a lack of access to information? We were wrong. We have access to God-like information now. I can, if there's a person on the Buffalo Bills, I can within seconds find out what college he played for, how tall he is, how he's ranked in the league. I can find out how much he weighs. I can find out if he's married. I can find out if he has kids. I can find out his prison record, if he's been to jail. I can find out what charities he supports. I can find all of that out in seconds. And I could assume I know that person. I don't know that person. I know things about that person. And we do this. Like, you might know the address I live in, but I know my house. I live in my house. There's stuff I know about my house that even if you drove by, you wouldn't know. If you visited for a meal, you wouldn't know. I know my house. I know my wife. We have lived together how long? As long as she doesn't say too long, it's okay. I know she knows me. And so it's not just information about, it's not just the ability to recall. This is what we think now. We think that knowledge is just recalling and remembering. I remember your email address. I remember your address. I remember your birthday. That's not knowledge. That's just information. Knowledge has to do with an intimate interaction. It's something that's a lot more than just information. And so he says, I want you to grow in knowledge in an intimate interaction. That's interesting. And then understanding and discernment is way more than just information. Discernment is kind of knowing what to do with what you know. So now that you know, what are the options out in front of you? And I think some people think understanding is just agreeing. We do this to each other, right? We think that if somebody understands us, they will agree with whatever it is we've said or done. And Paul says there's a lot more to understanding than that. There's this kind of insight, this kind of discernment, this capacity to not only know someone, but also to understand what next steps could be helpful or beneficial. This is a really interesting way to live. I don't think any of us want to be the kind of person who just goes from person to person to person based on attraction and based on emotion. I don't know a single person that thinks that they can build a quality relationship like that. But so many of us do that. I don't think anybody wants to be the person who just, unless everything is perfect, I can't have a smile on my face. Unless every need is met, unless every problem is solved, unless everything is exactly where it should be, when it should be there, how it should be there, unless that's true, I just can't enjoy my life. I don't know anybody who wants to live like that. I don't know people who want to live in such a way that any kind of tumult in the exterior of their life, somewhere in the circumference of their being, when things are not exactly right and things aren't going the way you want and the winds are kind of contrary and maybe there's even a storm involved. I don't know anybody who wants to live so that all they do is reflect internally what's happened externally. I don't know anybody like that. Everybody I know wants to be the kind of person that even when things are volatile on the outside, I want some kind of calm assurance and quiet confidence on the inside. I don't know anybody who wants to just tap out and give up and walk away and throw in the towel every single time something happens that disappoints us. Some of the greatest champions in athletics, they didn't just blow out the competition. They had to endure unbelievable things. I don't know anybody who just wants to give up all the time. And it's so sad because in our world, there are people who tap out just when things were about to change. Just when it was about to change. I don't know anybody who always, when they walk into the room, they want people to cower in fear. I take that back. I do know a couple of people like that. But to be able to respond and to actually see people glad that you walked into a room instead of not, because there's a kind of kindness about you. Well, I don't know if you know this, perhaps you heard, but while I was away doing the Camino de Santiago, my wife bought a puppy. She did. The loss of me being around for even just a few weeks was too much. And I told her, I said, I hope that puppy's trained by the time I get home. Nope. She's 4.5 months old, and she is all puppy. And, but something happened this week. It's really interesting. I'm not saying this is universal, like it never changes, but I noticed a trend, and that is she'll start to do something she knows she's not supposed to do. She knows. She knows. And she'll be heading over, and I'll just go, And she turns around. And she waits till I'm not looking. I told my wife, I said, my adventure was over in 6 weeks. Your adventure is going to last for 15 years. To be able to have the kind of demeanor when you walk in a room that people lean in instead of look for a way out. I don't know anybody who wants to be bereft of the capacity, just a blindness to anything that's good in the world. Most people I know, they want to be able to see the good in others even when that person can't see it in themselves, or to see the good in an organization. It's one of the things that really grieves my heart these days is that if anybody finds even the smallest fault about anyone or anything, they will just paste that entire person's life or the organization they're involved in as though it is useless in our society, it is the bane of our existence, and someone should do something about eliminating them. Nobody wants to live in a story like that. To be able to have a gentle approach and to be able to be the kind of person that isn't controlled. It's an honestly, I don't know anybody who wants to give power to somebody else so that they can control their emotions and their reactions. And yet, if someone says something in an unkind way or they're disrespectful in some way, we can find ourselves powering up to meet it, and we've convinced ourselves, we've absolutely convinced ourselves that that's how you gained respect in this world. You do what they did to you, and you do it even harder, so they learn they better never ever do that to you again. And so what have we done? We've given control of our lives to somebody. All they have to do is just a snide look, a snide remark. It's just something it doesn't even have to be all that perceptible, or it can be an explosion. And the controls, it's like we're puppets. It's like they've completely controlled our capacity. Our language is going to change. Our volume is going to change. Our reactions are going to change. What rooms we stay in or don't stay in is going to change. We've surrendered all control. I don't know anybody who wants to live like that. Who's writing this story? And the answer is, the pen is in the hands of people who shouldn't have it. You say, that's right. And the pen is in your hand, and you can't handle it. Because when we write our story, we don't write it any different than other people would. It's not an intentional thing. We want what's good. We want what's right. We want what's better. But there's just a way that we process all of this. And so, I don't know if you noticed it, but it was absolutely fascinating. Here's the problem, all right? Here's the real risk of this talk this morning. There are some people here, and this is what you'll say. Okay, I got it. I am going to make commitments to people, and I will work for their best no matter what. Okay. And I'm going to try not just to know about people. I want to spend some time with people. I want to pick those people, decide who those people are, but I'll get to know some people, and I'll get to know some things, and then I can gain some understanding, and if I do that, then I will have a better job, and I will have a better family. And all we're doing is putting the pen back in our hands. We just think we've discovered a different set of tools. So what's the solution? And it's the first two words the Apostle Paul says when he opened this conversation. I pray that your love will grow in overflowing. I pray you will grow in knowledge. I pray you will grow in understanding. What are we doing? We're taking the pen and we're putting it in his hands. Because there is only one being in all the universe that I know that can love and want what's best for others no matter what. You can take God, you can spit in his face, you can beat him to a bloody pulp, you can nail what's left of his body to a cross, you can spear him in the side, and you can make fun of him while he's there, and you cannot change his commitment to you because he says, I want what's best for you no matter what. That's love. That's love. And it's not just me trying to work up the strength of my commitment. It's me allowing God to build something in me that comes from him and not me. Does that make sense to anybody? Yeah. I pray. I'm going to ask the worship team to come out. Simple truth is that we all have these experiences in our life where we feel like we're caught in stories we don't want to be a part of anymore. And I get it. I don't know anybody who wants to see their child face turn into an unbelievable rage and say things that you never would have said to your parents, and you can't believe they're saying it to you. I don't know anybody who wants to see a spouse throw a hint into a conversation that it might be time to wind things up in this relationship because it's not going anywhere that's any good for either one of us. I don't think anybody wants to see their work environment or their position in a free fall, or their economic situation tenuous, or their health situation uncertain. I don't know anybody who would desire that. But here's the challenge. We have told ourselves that if I have the perfect life, then I can become that all I need to be, and I'll know who God really is. And what God does is he says, no matter the life that you're having, he can write himself into our story. And you can find out, you can know who God is when all hell is breaking loose in your life. And what you discover is he's not distant, and he's not unkind, and he's not judgmental. He is a friend that sticks closer than a brother, and he will move towards you even when you can't take a single step towards him. You can learn who God is in the story you're in right now. And if you give him the pen, it's amazing the chapter that's coming and how this is all going to wind up. It will be the best seller of your life. And that's what grace has come to do for us today. Is there anybody who's willing to give the pen back to God? Just give it to him. Just give it to him. Let's all stand together. I'm going to give you a homework assignment. So you couldn't let me sit down for that?
I know.
Every day this week, try this. Pray what Paul prayed. I pray my love will overflow more and more. I pray that I will keep on growing in knowledge. I pray that I will keep growing in understanding. It doesn't have to be overly demonstrative. Just find a place, find a space, find the grace to let the grip hold on the pen that you have loose. I pray that I will have love that's overflowing. I pray, only you can do this, God. I can't write this, but you can. It's amazing what he will do. Father, we take the pen out of our hand. We're not giving it to someone that we think wants good things for us. We're giving it to you, and we trust you with the story you're writing in our lives. In Jesus' name, amen.